Hi, everyone. My name is Jesus Rodriguez-Espinoza. I'm the editor and founder of Orinoco Tribune. You can find us in orinocotribune.com and in social media platforms with the same handle. And today I want to record a short video about the recent corruption campaign, anti-corruption campaign launched by the Venezuelan government, and its effects, its pros and contras, and how most of Venezuelans here in Venezuela are seeing it. But before that, I just want to remind you that if you like our content, please subscribe. Please like, share, comment our YouTube post or our post in TikTok or Instagram, because we're planning to publish this content in those platforms. And also, I would ask you to support us with the donations, which is very important. And recently, donations are not, doing very good, and it's understandable. But anyways, we need to ask for those one, able to support us to do it. And also, you can support us joining our team. So please follow the instructions that we have in social media, in our social media accounts to do that. It's pretty easy, and I believe that you will enjoy it. And now, going back to the issue that I want to raise today, I divided I wanted to organize my words in 4 different parts. The first one is going to be about the facts. The second one is going to be about Chavista response and effect on ordinary Venezuelans of this anti-corruption, tirade campaign. Then I'm going to talk about the achievements of this campaign, but also I want to talk at the end about the inconsistencies, the things that doesn't click pretty well, even in Chavistas' heads. So first, going on the facts part, I want to say that basically what happened is that by the second half of March, the Venezuelan government with the new anti-corruption national police and the public ministry launched this campaign that first touched PDVSA and SUNACRIP, which is the agency and the government agency in charge of dealing with cryptocurrencies, including Petro, which is the official Venezuelan cryptocurrency. So basically what happened is that the police detained the head of SUNACRIP, and basically the Venezuelan authorities said that $3 billion were not received as expected by the end of 2022 due to some sort of corruption scheme designed using cryptos that according to local news outlets are it's the tool that Venezuela is using after the illegal U.S. sanctions to receive payments for the shipments of oil, the few shipment of oil that Venezuela is able to send abroad, and that keeps, the Venezuelan economy alive. So it was a terrible news. I mean, this Yosilet Ramirez is his name, the head of SUNACRIP, was a person, according to local news outlets, very close to Tarek El Aissami. But also during that operation, they detained I mean, they detained several people from Sunacri, but also in that initial round of, um, arrest, the anti-corruption police also put in jail the mayor of Las Tejerias. That's a small town in Aragua State near Caracas that suffered a landslide a few months ago and was in the news a lot. And but also it was in the news before that because El Tren de Aragua, a criminal gang, very important, um, set base of operations there. And basically what the authorities finally find out was that the mayor of that town was in collusion with these criminals from El Tren de Aragua, and they put him behind bars. The other part of the anti-corruption campaign was and that happened during that first round was the capture of three judges, most of them in the anti-terrorist court in Caracas, and they were charged for selling decisions, court decisions, in particular one favoring one criminal that was dealing with arms for another important criminal gang in Venezuela known as El Tren del Llano, and they gather evidence showing that they receive payments for releasing this person that was initially captured by Venezuelan authorities for illegal arm dealings. Then a few days later, some executives from PDVSA were also captured. Also was captured Ugbel Roa, also connected to the PDVSA crypto case, and allegedly Ugbel Roa, which is a very important Chavista. He was minister. He was currently deputy for the National Assembly for the PSUV. And he basically was, according to authorities, was meddling. I mean, embezzling, money, and receiving payments for making deals or making paying suppliers for PDVSA. So Uguel Roa was captured in that second round of detentions or arrests, and also the TVG, Corporación Venezolana de Guayana, which is a holding in the south of Venezuela that controls a lot of heavy industries that are based in the south of Venezuela. The whole executive board of CVG, it might be translated like the Venezuelan Corporation of Guayana, but most of the people know it as CVG. Also were captured, including the president, vice president, most of the board, presidents of the companies that belongs to the holding, like Sidor, for example. And that was the second round of arrest. And then recently, there was another round of arrest where Hugo Cabezas and other people connected to the judiciary mainly were captured and presented to trial. So, I mean, right now, according to Tarek William Saab, our Attorney General, about 51 people are under arrest, and they are expecting to have more people under arrest, according to the words, according the words of Tarek William Saab. So that's basically what has been happening in recent days. In Venezuelan public opinion has been like shocked with these. I mean, it doesn't mean that, I mean, corruption issues, I mean, are not new for Venezuela, sadly. But these are among the worst and the first ones that lead to the detention and arrest of authorities. So in that sense, it's something positive, and that takes me to something that I'm gonna talk in the third part of these few words. But before that, I want to talk in the second part about the Chavista response, or the effect of these events on ordinary Venezuelans. So first of all, I have to admit that it was shocking, as I was just saying. Not because we are not used to corruption, but because the amount, the quantity of arrests, people being arrested, and for the, the fact that it involved a lot of money. So we are talking here about billions of dollars, at least $3 billion, and some people are talking about more than that. But I don't want to, talk without, knowing exactly what happened. The other thing that I want to mention here is that recognition to the government. I mean, most of the Chavista people recognize, as I already said, that this is something that never happened before, at least at this level, at least at the level of, putting in jail I mean, the whole boards of PDVSA, or most of the board of PDVSA and most of the board of CBG, which always has been a very also important, company in Venezuela, or institution. So in that sense, it was there was a lot of recognition. There is a lot of recognition for the government for doing this. But of course, there was also rage because this in Venezuela in between October, November, December last year suffered a sharp devaluation of the Bolivar. And a lot of experts were talking about some cash flow issues that Venezuela was experiencing at that moment as the main cause for, the Bolivar being devaluated during those months. And now we know that cash flow issue was connected to this corruption scheme where $3 billion at least disappear and did not arrive to the to the state, to the government. So in that sense, many people automatically made the connections between what happened, and that those evaluations have a direct effect on ordinary Venezuelans, on the prices of things, on inflation, on economic insecurity, among regular Venezuelans, and a lot of people were, and of course are still mad at that fact, that something like that was, I mean, some people connected to the government were capable of doing something like this in a moment so complex for Venezuela, which is, the moment related to the U.S. sanctions, to the blockade, to the U.S. aggression against Venezuela in order to provoke a regime change that have not worked and it's not going to work, but it's affecting us a lot, in our daily lives here in Venezuela. So those are the things that I wanted to mention about this, elements or the effect that this campaign, anti-corruption campaign, has on Chavistas and ordinary Venezuelans. And from the other side, now, being in the third moment of the words I wanted to share with you, I already said, I mean, it's the recognition of real actions against corruptions with the campaign, taking place right now. And that's something very different from what happened in the past. I mean, we had been in Venezuela tons of cases of corruption, and most of them end up being discovered afterwards, being discovered after the corrupt people left the country. So in this case, this have to be recognized like an achievement, besides all the bad things, that show corruption, like as an element of deterioration of the social tejido social, we say in Spanish, social tissue, maybe. So anyway, I mean, the positive things is that the government is doing something at all levels and using the word caiga quien caiga. So whatever happens. So that's one of the elements that I wanted to highlight in this part of my words. Also, the attempt to recover the stolen money is something to be highlighted. I mean, Venezuelan authorities, even the National Assembly, passed in a first discussion. It is not approved yet, but it passed the first discussion, a new law to seize the assets stolen by corrupt people. So that's an important signal and coherent signal in order to let anyone involved in corruption dealings that they are gonna be followed, that their assets are gonna be followed. Of course, there's always ways to hide, illegal money, but I believe that this is made to encourage people in trying to get into the corruption world. So I believe that that's an important move, also coherent. Also, it's important to highlight that within the things that I call achievements in this recent anti-corruption operation is the arrest of private operators. The government didn't arrest, only public officials. The Venezuelan government also arrested private operator, businessmen, allegedly businessmen, business people that were working in conjunction with these, corrupt officials. So that's an important, and it's not a small number. I believe that is almost like equal, like half and half of the people, of the 51 people being arrested. At least half of them, or close to half of them, belongs to the private sector, to the business sector. So that's something important to highlight. And now, to finish, I just want to mention that there are inconsistencies, things that doesn't click pretty well in the head of many Chavistas, of many Venezuelans, of course. And the first one is the situation connected to Argenis Torrealba and Alfredo Chirino's case. Those are two former executives that were put in jail like in 2021 after they make denunciations about corruption in PDVSA, very similar to the ones that were unveiled in this recent campaign. And the bad thing about that is that many Venezuelans knew that these guys first denounced corruptions, and then they were basically put in jail as a retaliation by these mafias that are, not only in PDVSA, but they spread, along the whole state. They spread within the public ministries. They spread in the judiciary. So they have tentacles, moving all over the state to make them live in impunity and attack those that threaten them. And in my opinion, that's what happened to these kids. And I talk about inconsistencies because the Venezuelan government has been within the framework of this campaign, has been inviting Venezuelans to denounce corruptions, to help the government fighting corruption. But we have the bad example of these two kids that did that and ended up in jail. So that happened a lot. A lot of people in Venezuela, especially public officials, they restrain themselves of taking actions against corruption because they know that they might end up ending bad. I mean, like Argenis and Alfredo that ended up being sentenced to jail. I mean, being sentenced, and they were sentenced for spreading classified information from PDVSA. They initially accused them of treason. They accused them of connections with the CIA, a lot of things. And the good thing is that a few days ago, the Venezuelan judiciary granted them full freedom. Not because they how do you say that in English? They exonerated them from the charges that they were sentenced for, but because the legal term that they used was that the extinction of the term, which is not exactly true because they were still going. I mean, they were. They received this full freedom decision almost 2 years before the real, ending of his 5-year sentence. So anyway, I mean, that's a good sign, but of course, there's something that needs to be done in this case, and we have tried in Orinoco Tribune to cover this situation connected to these guys. I mean, these people are Jenny Torrealba and Alfredo Chirinos, and we believe that they should, and I understand that they will elevate a legal, strategy to the Supreme Court in Venezuela in order to receive a full exoneration for the sentence that they received. So I hope that that happened because that will mean that the government and the state will try to fix that terrible inconsistency that happened in that case. Of course, assuming that I'm talking about Argenis and Alfredo, are really not involved in what they were accused of. That I really believe they are not, but no one's know in reality, if you don't have the facts in your hands. So, but anyway, I hope that that happened and that that leads to a real good investigation, a responsible investigation of the facts that leads to a decision, a decision based in facts. Another element around this particular part is the previous denunciations of corruptions that were raised against Hugo Cabezas and Tarek El Aissami, for example. I mean, there has been several denunciations against Hugo Cabezas, against El Aissami also, but not that many as against Hugo Cabezas. And that guy was minister of the presidency for Hugo Chavez. He was the head of the identification office in Venezuela, and that is called SAIME, which is a very important agency in Venezuela. He was governor for Trujillo State. He was, he was at all levels of the government. He ended up being the head of one company that was nationalized a few days ago called Smurfit Paper of Venezuela, which belonged to this transnational of paper that is everywhere. And allegedly, he was also, practicing corruption then. So there's inconsistencies. Even the people from the Communist Party that I don't like too much lately, we were working in this news about the detention, the arrest of Hugo Cabezas, we found out that Pedro Euse from PSB in 2014 make public denunciations against Hugo Cabezas. Pedro Euse is one of the leading figures in the Venezuelan Communist Party that recently has been very anti-Chavista, has been very anti-government, and I don't, share their position, that particular position that they have in this campaign against the government, but I have to recognize that they denounced Hugo Cabezas at the right moment, and the government didn't do anything. And that's that. That's, part of those inconsistencies that we need to fix in order to fix Venezuelan society, to eradicate or at least diminish the cancer of corruption that affects us. Another important issue is the lack of information about Tarek El Aissami. I'm not saying, and I cannot say that all these people are real criminals, but at least, if you eliminate the relations that many of these people being arrested had, one of the, common denominator is that most of the people, especially the ones connected to PDVSA and the corruption there, were very close to Tarek El Aissami. Tarek El Aissami was our Minister of Oil, and he resigns, which is great, but no one knows what is happening with him. No one knows if he is going to be arrested. If you ask me, not having the facts in my hands or evidence in my hands, I believe that at least he should be arrested. But of course, again, I have to be responsible and say that I don't have all the elements in my hands to make a responsible opinion. But anyway, I mean, I already said what I believe is important to say about that. And because there's a risk if Tarek El Aissami is really connected to these corruption, schemes, there's a risk that if he is not arrested, he might leave the country like many other Venezuelan PDVSA executives. So that's something that needs to be fixed, if you ask me. And I believe that might happen eventually, unless there are no proof, connecting him to these criminals or alleged criminals. And the other thing that is important to highlight, talking about inconsistency, is the anti-sanctions law. I mean, a lot of these denunciations of corruption, especially the ones in PDVSA, a lot of people say that this corruption happened because the anti-corruption law. But when you see the denunciations of Argenis Torrealba and Alfredo Chirinos, you know that these corruption schemes were happening at least since 2017 or 2016. So, I mean, of course, they are connected to U.S. sanctions because during those years, the U.S. criminal attack against Venezuela forced PDVSA to evade regular channels and procedures sometimes in order to manage to get our oil being exported. I mean, reach international markets. In that way, PDVSA receive its revenue, its profits. So, I mean, you cannot blame all these denunciations that Alfredo and Argenis did and to the anti-sanctions law. But of course, there's something there that I believe need to be evaluated, or because this law might open the door for things like this to happen, And what is needed is to, I mean, there should be some way in which the state can build a procedure that eliminates the risk of repetition of, of these corruption practices in PDVSA based on selling oil to phantom companies that are not the traditional, suppliers or shippers or dealers of PDVSA. Keep doing, I mean, that PDVSA keep doing the business, but maybe with that kind of companies, because those are the ones that the only ones that can do, that PDVSA can do business with under current circumstances, but at least that the government set a procedure in order to avoid that the oil goes to those companies and they don't pay back to Venezuela, which is basically what has been denounced by Argenis and Alfredo, and also within the framework of this PDVSA crypto scandal. So everything also, at the end of the day, have something to do with the US sanctions, illegal sanctions. So that's basically it. Those are the things that I wanted to tell you. I just wanted to share my opinion about this case, and I hope that you enjoy it. And please feel free to make your comments, to click the subscribe button in our channel, in our social media platforms, and like and join our account. And I invite you to follow OrinocoTribune.com. That is a unique website that we try to, where we try to present fresh and accurate information, responsible information about what is happening in Venezuela, in Latin America, and around the world, of course, with a Chavista perspective, with a socialist perspective. So thank you again for your time. Un abrazo.